Have you ever held your tongue? Not because you were forbidden to speak, but because you felt you couldn't? A thought forms. An opinion solidifies, but it remains locked behind your teeth. This isn't the work of overt censorship or direct threats. It's something. Welcome to the Dark Psychology Lab. Today, we explore the architecture of self-censorship. The most sophisticated form of control isn't about silencing voices. It's about creating an environment where people willingly silence themselves, convinced it's their own. We will deconstruct 3 foundational techniques that build this invisible prison. These methods don't break your will. They gently guide you into a cage of your own making, leaving you to guard the door. They are elegant, brutally effective, and happening all around you, every single day. The first is a tool of psychological warfare that manufactures hesitation, the chilling effect. The second weaponizes our deepest human fear of isolation, the spiral of silence. And the third, perhaps the most insidious, reframes dissent as a moral failing, the trap of moral superiority. These aren't just theories from a textbook. They are active strategies deployed in boardrooms, on social media platforms, and within social circles. They function by turning the mechanisms of your own mind against you, making you the agent of your own silence. Let's begin. First, we examine the chilling effect. This isn't about a direct threat. A direct threat creates a martyr. The chilling effect is about creating an atmosphere of vague, unpredictable, and potentially disproportionate consequences. It's the ghost of a threat, which is often more terrifying than the threat itself. Imagine a workplace where one employee is publicly reprimanded for a minor, ambiguous infraction. The message isn't for that one person. It's for the 100 others who witness it. The rules don't become clearer. Instead, a fog of uncertainty descends. What is? The goal is to engineer hesitation. Before posting online, before speaking up in a meeting, before challenging an idea, you pause. You play out the worst-case scenarios. The manipulator doesn't need to censor you, because the ambiguity of the threat makes you censor yourself. This effect thrives on disproportionate responses. A single harsh example serves as a psychological landmark for the entire group. It creates a boundary, not with a clear line, but with a minefield of unknown triggers. The safest path, your mind concludes, is to not walk. The power lies in its efficiency. One action creates 100 moments of inaction. The manipulator outsources the work of control to the minds of the controlled. They simply plant a seed of fear, and your own imagination, your own instinct for self-preservation, does the. Now we move to the second layer, the spiral of silence. This powerful social theory explains how perceived public opinion can become actual public opinion. At its core is our primal fear of isolation. We are social creatures, and the thought of being cast out is a. The theory, proposed by Elizabeth Noel Neumann, suggests that we are constantly scanning our environment to gauge the climate of opinion. We listen, we watch, we read. We try to determine which ideas are on the rise and which are falling, and we adjust our willingness to express. A manipulator exploits this by creating a false consensus. They don't need a majority. They just need to seem like one. This is done through loud, confident, and relentless repetition of their message. They amplify sympathetic voices and aggressively shout down or ignore dissenting ones. If you believe your opinion is in the minority, you are less likely to voice it. As you and others like you fall silent, the manipulator's view seems even more dominant. This encourages more people to fall silent, creating a downward spiral. The opinion becomes dominant not because it's popular. Social media is a perfect incubator for this phenomenon. A small but highly organized group can create a pile-on effect, making their viewpoint seem like a vast, unassailable consensus. To the outsider, it looks like the entire world agrees. The pressure to conform. The chilling effect makes you fear the consequence. But the spiral of silence makes you fear yourself. It makes you question your own judgment. If everyone else thinks this way, you begin to wonder, am I the one who's wrong? This internal doubt is a more powerful silence. This brings us to the final, most sophisticated technique, the trap of moral superiority. This tactic elevates the conversation from a disagreement about facts or opinions to a judgment on character. It's no longer about what is true, but about who is good. The manipulator positions themselves and their ideas on an unassailable moral high ground. They aren't just correct, they are righteous. Their cause isn't just a preference, it is a moral imperative. This framing is a powerful psychological trap that is incredibly difficult. When you challenge their idea, you are not simply disagreeing. You are, by their framing, revealing a moral or intellectual failing. You aren't mistaken. You are unenlightened. You aren't questioning their logic. You are demonstrating your own ignorance, or, worse, your malicious intent. This tactic short-circuits rational debate. You are no longer defending your point. You are forced to defend your character. The argument is no longer about the topic at hand, but about your right to even have an opinion. It's an exhausting, disorienting, and demoralizing form of engagement. Most people will retreat. It is one thing to argue about an idea, but it is another to have your fundamental goodness called into question. Silence becomes the easiest option, not because you are convinced, but because you are tired. You are silenced by the sheer emotional cost of speaking up. These three techniques, the chilling effect, the spiral of silence, and the trap of moral superiority, do not exist in a vacuum. They form a powerful, interlocking system. They are a three-legged stool of self-censorship, each one reinforcing the others. The chilling effect creates the initial hesitation. The spiral of silence makes you believe that your hesitation is justified because everyone else must disagree with you. And the trap of moral superiority makes you feel that your dissenting thought is not just unpopular, but fundamentally wrong. The result is an invisible gag, tied not by a physical rope, but by the threads of our own psychology. It feels internal. It feels like our own decision. We conclude that staying silent is the wise, safe, and even virtuous choice. So how do we dismantle this? How do we reclaim our voice when the prison is built within our own mind? The first step is awareness. Simply understanding these techniques strips them of their mysterious power. Seeing the architecture of the trap is the first step to disarming it. Question the climate. When an opinion seems overwhelmingly dominant, ask if it's genuinely popular or just amplified. Seek out quieter voices and alternative viewpoints. The spiral of silence only works if you rely on the loudest voices to gauge the consensus. Deliberately. Furthermore, refuse to have your character put on trial. When a debate shifts from the topic to your morality, recognize it for the tactic it is. Calmly steer the conversation back to the substance of the argument. Do not accept the premise that a difference of opinion is a defect of character. This is their trap, not your reality. Finally, understand the value of intellectual courage. Speaking a dissenting opinion in a hostile environment is not easy, but every voice that breaks the silence makes it easier for the next one. You may feel like a lone voice, but your courage can be the signal that allows other, silenced individuals to find their own. The ultimate freedom is not just the legal right to speak, but the psychological will to do so. The most important conversations are often the most difficult ones. The architects of silence know this. They build their systems not to withstand a rebellion, but to prevent one from ever being conceived. By understanding their methods, you reclaim the ownership of your own silence and your own voice. You decide when to speak and why, and that is a power they can never truly take from you.